anywhere. It's a complex process, and we also believe that, sure, why not? I mean, in this vast universe, there has to be absolutely other intelligent life forms. And the thing is, though, we're so naive in our assumptions to assume that they're going to come through the way we expect them to come through. You see these programs about scientists talking about, they've got to travel this fast or go through here. Well, no, they might be very much interdimensional creatures and craft. And that from the soul viewpoint, if we had been an alien in a past life and we had decided to incarnate upon the Earth plane, then our relatives from other civilizations might want to come up and check on us, to see how we're doing.
I do agree with that. So now that you guys have come together, you're sort of in the throes of writing a new book. Do you want to give us a little bit of information about the new book that you're putting together?
Well, the new book that we're putting together will be a lot about my life and my investigations and my earlier life and what happened to me as a child. It will be about that because before I met Philip, I'd already wrote 9 chapters of a book anyway, which was going to be called Life on the Move. And then when I met Philip, we decided that Philip would take over and I would finish writing the chapters, which I did. And then Philip's got the book and he's now putting it into chapter form for me and we're writing it together. So it's going to be basically about a lot of the mysteries that happened around Rendlesham, a lot of the untold stories and people who I've investigated, witnesses and that I've never ever released. I've still got information going right the way back to the 1980s and even the 1970s that I've never ever released. So basically the book will be based on that, stories that have never been told before.
Okay. So, just sort of going back to, I guess, the book here, Phil, you talk about like a wizard type of man that sort of watched you as you came back from one of your abductions, and you sort of agree on some level that it's probably a kind of out of body thing, that they're taking your astral body to the ship. Do you still sort of agree with that notion?
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, though, I feel that if someone is being abducted, in more cases than not, I feel that, there's been cases where people have been sat in cars and been taken through the car and in the house and taken through the house. As long as the ethereal body is still attached to its physical host, and whatever the greys do to the etheric body will still affect the physical body. Do you see what I mean? They're both still connected.
Yeah.
On that. Yeah. And I think that when the greys abduct someone, what they're doing is they're taking you into their vibrational frequency so that they will be able to interact with you. I mean, if we put it in another way, when we die here, we know that there's a spirit world. The only way that we can access that spirit world is through a heightened sense of connection mentally. Mediums use this ability to interact with them. And of course, what we have to do, what the greys have to do, is they have to bring you in their field of vibration so that they can interact with you on their level of reality, because we are talking about multiple dimensions.
So what do you feel, that they're here for good purposes, selfish purposes, or they're just a race that needs to survive like the rest of us? And so
I'll give one version, Brenda will give another. Hang on. I'll say first of all that to my mind, I believe there is a faction that's very good and there's also a faction that's bad. What would you say, Brenda? What do you think?
No, I agree with Philip. Actually, there are good and bad, just like human people. There are some good ones and some bad ones.
We'll talk about the small greys, but there's also the long, thin greys that seem to be more the kind of more. They are beings where the smaller ones could be almost like robots, but organic robots. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. But the little tiny ones, which are about 2 to 3 foot high, which resemble little children and that, they're normally accompanied by the taller greys, the 4 or 5 foot high, because the taller greys are normally the guardians of the smaller greys. But then you get the bigger ones, which are sort of 6 foot tall. There's a lot, very, very long arms and everything. But down at Rendlesham, we've got several different kinds down there, and every so many years they change over. Different ones. We've seen about 3 or 4 different sorts down there already.
So do you think that perhaps there is an underground base there, and that's where the greys are, or one? Obviously not just there, but what do you think?
I think they come from another dimension, because we've seen portals down there, and we've actually got portals. And I've got photographs with them coming through portals. So if there's an underground base down there, I mean, it is probably where people say it's in that forest, because we have seen lights going in and out of there. We've seen like craft come over and disappear around that area, but they just disappear. We've walked the forest and looked, but we can't find anywhere that there can be possibly a doorway or anything there. We do know where there are other places of portals in the forest.
So I guess if they're multi-dimensional, then they can come in anywhere, can't they? I mean, if they can come into your home and take your astral body to a ship, then they can come anywhere. But I guess there seems to be some kind of reason for being in Rendlesham, and it's obviously the base being there. So it does make you wonder if there's a connection to the military there.
Well, I've been down in Rendlesham for years and years and years, because way back in the 1800s and back in the 1700s and 1600s, people were reporting seeing lights and seeing these tall, spindly figures walking around there. They have been there an awful long time. And a lot of the New Age travellers who live around that area, they've seen tall and spindly people in white and that going in and out of the forest. And they've been saying this for years and years. So I think, they've been there for quite a long time. I just think Rendlesham is a very, very special, magical place. It's a very spiritual place. And it just happened to be one of the forests where they come to. Because we've been to forests all over the place, all over the country, and we've never ever found anything like Rendlesham.
It's very, very interesting. I mean, you guys have obviously seen UFOs firsthand. I mean, that must be an absolutely awesome thing to see. I mean, it must just change your whole paradigm of reality in a moment, mustn't it?
I think because I've seen so many since I was a child. I think I just take it in my stride now, because yes, we've got photographs of UFOs, and we have seen the mothership, and we've seen, baby ships come from all the discs and everything come out of the mothership. And we've seen great big huge blue lights following the mothership. And yeah, we've seen quite a few down there over the last few years. We've seen several.
And do you see a link with UFO activity and, sort of black helicopters turning up and the military taking an interest in them?
Well, yeah, I guess there is a possibility of that occurring. I mean, you hear all these stories about, mainly with cattle mutilation, and black helicopters are seen afterwards. The only experience I've had with them is seeing helicopters over the forest when we've been there. And I know that we've been hassled, and Brenda has as well too. And they want you off of there. You're on public land. We weren't on the base at all, but they tried to flush us out on more than one occasion. It was very scary when we had gone down to do our research on one occasion, where the helicopter actually came down in a field, in the farmer's field, was hovering, and we thought it was going to land, and we thought the pilots were going to come out and get us. And as this was going on, there was some UFO activity over to the left of the helicopter, and we were trying to point to the pilots, look over there, and they weren't interested at all in any of that. They were more intent in bringing the helicopter down almost to ground level and trying to intimidate us to get us off the land. I mean, it was a very scary. I mean, if you can imagine at night, being out there and this going on, it's a very scary. I mean, I think I'd feel more afraid of the people, the pilots, and the helicopter than the UFO.
Crikey. So you guys are there now, aren't you? I mean, have you witnessed anything on this vigil?
Well, we were out last, weren't we?
Yes, several things happened last night, yes. I mean, we get beautiful, beautiful orbs. The colours are out of this world, the colours of the orbs. And we got loads of orbs last night, and we saw a light being as we walked up one of the tracks. And I suddenly said, oh, look, there's somebody standing there, and went running it. Well, as soon as I said it, you saw a light go flying through the forest, and we went into the forest, and we saw somebody standing beside a tree, and took some photos and everything, and there's like a mist thing and some orbs and all that, but there isn't hardly a night we don't go down there, and we go down there sort of like twice a week, and we don't get something, there's always something around, always.
So do you visit quite often then, all of you?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's stuff often, yes. But very often there's only just my little group down, and we see them quite regular, but if anybody else is with us, very often they don't get anything on their cameras, and they can't see what we can see.
Okay. I mean, do you get a lot of groups sort of visiting the forest, like you get a lot of paranormal groups investigating ghosts and stuff like that. Do you get a lot of people going